Well, welcome to HTO Football listeners. We're back with another episode, myself, Andrew Timbrell and Tom Whitford. Tom, today's episode. Now, I think I had a pair of football boots named after this lot back in the day. The Adidas ones.
Might well have done. There's something a bit different for listeners today. We're joined by managing editor of the football magazine and creative agency, Mundial, Seb White. Seb, how are you? Are you well?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It's half term at the moment, so I'm doing some stuff with the family. But yeah, it's a nice change from all the football madness that I normally have to deal with. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
So your Twitter bio, the Mundial bio, starts off by saying, reminding you why you love football. So Seb, take us back. Why football for you?
What made you fall in love with the game?
Well, I was born and bred in Yeovil in Somerset, sleepy Somerset. Not necessarily a football hotbed by any stretch of imagination, but I could see the floodlights of the old ground from my back garden, and my school was literally right opposite. It was one of those old town centre grounds. So my school was in the town centre, so I'd see that all the time anyway. But my granddad had been going to Yeovil week in, week out, so was my dad. So just started going one day. Just started going with them, and that was it really. Fell in, non-league at that stage. Yeovil were non-league, couple of thousand every week. Old historic, what everyone knows as the sloping pitch at the time, very evocative, and stuck with me and. Started reading Shoot magazine, then moved on to 90 Minutes, then 442, then the internet came along, obviously, and pretty much. And I've been fortunate enough to work in football as well. Certainly the last 13, 14 years. So yeah, I'm extremely fortunate to have a job as well in something that I obviously have a lot of, have a huge passion for. And I was going to say, yeah. Absolutely. And I met my wife through going to football as well, so it was
got to be doing it, then you've got to marry into it. Just to clarify then, I think it was going to be a question later, but you've kind of already nailed your master kind of there. You were Shoot over Match then growing up, Shoot magazine over Match magazine.
Yes, I was Shoot magazine over Match magazine. I don't
huge divide,
but then towards the end, but obviously when Matchbacks was around, and they covered the conference which Yeovil were in at the time, and so even though I'd seen the games, it was amazing to see Yeovil versus Bath City and the players that you saw getting marks out of 10. I don't know whoever did them, so often they didn't correspond with what I remember. But yeah, I was Shoot. But then to be fair, I was very much 90 Minutes when 90 Minutes came around, to be fair. So yeah. Well, and in actual fact, I could probably go through all the magazines because they're all in the garage. I found them all yesterday when I was sorting out the garage, and I've still got all my old copies: 90 Minutes, Shoot, 442, Goal, Total Football, World Soccer's. That obviously led obviously helped me along the path to be managing editor of the quarterly football magazine, which I'm incredibly proud of.
Yeah, so you've been going for over about 6-7 years now, Seb?
6 years, yeah. We did what was genuinely in this. People don't often believe us, but yeah, genuinely was supposed to be a one-off magazine ahead of the World Cup between like-minded people and mates. Just we want to do something a bit different, and we sold out of our limited edition of 2014 copies in a couple of weeks, just online, and yeah, the rest is history, really. And yeah, that's where we started, and we've obviously become a lot more than a magazine. In recent times, we had to, because the magazine became a business on its own, but then as a result of that, then we all got business and work from the magazine. So yeah, and we were able to make it a full-time thing, which again, I'm incredibly fortunate to do, and I'm also incredibly proud of. But yeah, it's as with any business, and certainly in the last year or so, it's been tough, but that's
we were gonna ask that, because obviously 2014 it's a pretty young in itself, Mundial, but actually even in that space of time, what have you seen as the big evolution and the changes in the way in which people are consuming your content, but just consuming football in a digital way in general? Because every year it seems that there's exponential change, even though you think you can't change possibly anymore. There's a new thing, and you always have to be keeping up with the Joneses, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, well, obviously there's no doubt about it. Our one-off issue, or what it was supposed to be a one-off issue, was very much a sort of anti the clickbait and and I don't want to say the writing that was at the time very much clickbait focused and all sensational and all based around a certain tier and all about getting hits and numbers and stuff like that on various sites, whatever they were. And I'll be honest, I was guilty as the next person sometimes about feeding that sort of machine. And so that was one of the reasons we set up Mundial, was to try and sort of take a pause, give the articles and things like that attention, make it look good as well. That was obviously a big thing for us. We felt that there wasn't quite and there wasn't quite visually. Obviously, still there were good things, but they were very. We wanted to try and push the envelope a little bit, really, to use a phrase there. But yeah, and obviously that's changed, and it keeps moving on. And I think the democracy of what we try and do at Mundial is, yes, of course, let's not be, there's 4 directors, 2 of them are Liverpool fans, so I've lived and my family of St Helens, so I've lived that that upper echelons of the game through them, really. But yeah, at the same time, let's do a piece on Glasgow, a football team in Glasgow. Let's go and focus. Let's go to Casablanca in Morocco. Raja Casablanca in Morocco. So football is inherently the same game for all of those and all of those people and all of those levels and all the countries. It's 22 people on the pitch, and obviously things have changed and it moves all the time, but inherently it's the same thing, and we all fall in love with it because of those 22 people on the pitch. Yeah. So, and also for the stuff off it, we're called Mundial. You mentioned there about the boots, it's not entirely coincidence that we call the magazine Mundial. It obviously means global in Spanish, but it also pays homage to certainly my favourite pair of football boots and that sort of off the field stuff, which obviously we cover a lot of in terms of fashion and not just boots, but what you wear on the terraces as much as you wear on the pitch. And yeah.
I was going to say a lot of your work is sort of entrenched in nostalgia, isn't it, Seb? I mean, one of my favourite parts of Mundial is sort of on the YouTube channel. You've got some cracking short clips and little mini documentaries. I watched one of the Leeds ones earlier, and the girls talking about their sort of attachment to the club, and it just reminded me of a show we were talking about off air, actually, Sunderland Till I Die. It just had that real gritty sort of rawness to it. Do you feel more now than ever fans are craving that type of media?
Yeah, I think so, because I think there's, dare I say it, there's some almost not truly authentic and fake elements in that media. I'm not casting aspersions on the whole fan TV led movement, but some of the backgrounds of those people aren't particularly authentic as perhaps their reputations and their numbers dictate at this stage. And again, I understand for the younger generation that is a popular thing, but I think maybe it's a bit of a reaction to what is elsewhere in the industry. But yeah, one of the things that we say, we obviously get a lot of work through Mundial, and we've had to obviously to keep the business sustainable. Over the years, is brands do come to us, and again, just using the word brand around football sometimes can, but brands want to reach those people. I said the campaign you're talking about was for a betting company. Again, that brings its own challenges, but I think they want some authenticity to it, and they want to, be. And again, that tagline. I know sometimes things or brands and companies have taglines, but that genuinely does mean something to us. We do love football. Of course, there's loads of things that we dislike about football, like there is, anyone the same. But we just want to celebrate the good stuff, and sometimes that gets lost amongst all the noise and around football. Let's just celebrate the good stuff. So we did Leeds. We did a film for the Guide Dogs Charity Association, and football means so much to that person. Just happens the dog. Taking the dog that allows them to go to football is something we highlighted, but at the same time that shows you how important football is to that person, and there'll be different stories and different ways that people connect with football, and it's all it's essentially it can be your mates down the pub, or it can be going with a guide dog, or it can be all manner of things. It still does that thing too, doesn't it? And that's one of the things we've missed so much. We've all missed it, haven't we? Let's be brutally honest. We've missed that going to the match, and whatever your routine involves, and whoever you do that with, that is,
It's a fundamental part of your life, isn't it? How have you kept that ethos and that culture? Because it's prevalent throughout everything Mundial do. It's very clear, and again, we're using the word brand, but in your brand message and in everything you stand for, but also on all your social channels. How have you kept that at the heart of your, I guess, your evolution? So obviously you've got the pod now, you've got Giant, which would be great to hear a little bit about that, but also keeping that sort of what essentially is a bit of a throwback, the fundamentals about why we love the game, which is why it was the quarterly magazine as opposed to sort of a weekly, clickbait kind of stuff. It was let's use the word, it was quality stuff. And how do you maintain that but still evolve and keep up to date and as you push into stuff like Giant?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, because obviously we do. I don't want to say get tired with the nostalgia brush, but of course it's such a big part of what we do. Then sometimes people do, forget that we do concentrate obviously on what's happening now. Like I said, the Glasgow article is a great example of that. The videos that we do, or the content, any content that we do. And yes, of course, don't get me wrong, a great Ronaldo goal is always going to fly, and if you present it in the right way. But at the same time, it's nice if you find a non-league goal from last weekend that will help. But yeah, I think the main thing is to make sure that you do stay true to what made you successful and why people come to us. And again, not necessarily chase the huge numbers. Now, anyone can see how many followers we've got on Twitter and Instagram. We're incredibly proud of that audience that we've built up. Some people might say, well, that's only X amount, and compared to probably what I mentioned before, some fan TV things. But that, we like to think the audience that we've got and the people that we connect with, it's all about quality rather than quantity. And I know that might sound, we've said that in meetings sometimes, and people have said, oh yeah, but I can get X amount by going with them. And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but that's just, we do believe that people are connected with us. And the whole thing that people say about Reed's Mundial Mag once, I can't believe that people use that as a phrase, and that's not me being arrogant or anything like that. I just think it's great. I think it's nice that it's, we sometimes get called football hipsters, for example. And for a while I was a little bit like, well, that puts us, it paints us into a little bit of a corner. But at the same time, someone just said, all they're saying is that people appreciate what you do. And I think, well, that's it. You're
completely
right.
I don't think you should shy away from that. And actually, I think football is very cyclical. I think life's very cyclical. And actually, one person's nostalgia now, very soon that goal scored in 2012 will be nostalgia to someone, or whatever it may be. And actually, it's not just because you're always harping back to the good old days. Being a hipster isn't being dated. It's actually just saying, well, actually, what's the nuance of what do we really love? What do you want to remember? And what do you want to play again? What makes you feel good? And what makes you, really like about the game? So I don't think I wouldn't shy away.
Yeah, and that's like on and off the pitch, isn't it? That's playing five-a-side with your mates to go and watch an amazing game, and
completely.
So many elements to it. It's ridiculous. It's almost too much, to be honest. So.
you mentioned a word a minute ago, authenticity, Seb, and I think it just hits the nail on the head, really, in terms of the world we live in now, where we spoke to Alex Stewart from HTO Football a few weeks back, and he was saying how that anyone can create a Twitter account now and say tactical strategist or football writer, and I feel that, what Mundial do so well is that, and Tom alluded to this earlier, is that everything you do, everything you perpetuate and share is from that core value. And that then long may that continue, really, because I feel like as well, like as football fans, we do like to put on rose-tinted glasses and look back anyway. We always like to do.
Of course, yeah.
And that's just part of being a football fan, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I think talking about the authenticity and keeping that as a core element of reminding you why I love football. We've turned down quite a few things in the past for various reasons, whether that be for the magazine, whether that be a video, something on video or something on social. We've turned it down. We've said no to a lot of things that arguably a business, or certainly in a growing and a fledgling business, probably shouldn't, if you were looking at the numbers, shouldn't say no to. But we thought, well, we started this from a point of reference. So what, you've got to stay true to that. Otherwise, you just end up, and again, I'll touch on it briefly. But when we did do something with a gambling company, we realised that was going to bring certain questions, and obviously there's no doubt about it. Mundial was very is very much on the left side of the political spectrum, and we've not been shy of that at any point. Again, it's authentic to who we are as people in the company. But you know, we got asked questions, but we decided that we could make the material and the things that we would have made anyway if we had that. And you know, that's what we did. And of course, there were some people that said something, but at the same time, what we put out in terms of the output was true to us. So, you know, and again, it's up to people to make their own decision whether necessarily we should do that.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think as long as you have that, I think, honest reflection amongst yourselves. And I think, well, Andrew and I have been very similar, you know, starting this podcast, the kind of people we want to speak to. And actually, it's guests that we enjoy, respect, and really want to discuss and have on to, you know, on the pod. It's not necessarily always who's going to get the most clicks or what's going to be the, you know, what's going to go viral. Actually, that doesn't matter. Actually, there needs to be that layer of authenticity because frankly, football, when it comes down to it, it is a game, it is a sport, and it's one we all care very, very passionately about. But ultimately, it needs to be enjoyment factor there, and you're only going to get enjoyment from it if it's authentic, which is it really speaks to what you're talking to there. How have you seen in the 6 years, I guess, your viewership and your readership and your audience evolve and change? Have you had a sort of a target audience in mind, and has that changed, or do you stick to sort of a group there?
I think again, this might have been looking back on it, you know, with hindsight, having, you know, not necessarily having a huge plan to make this brand or to do this business has always meant that we've sort of taken things whilst retaining that core values that we spoke about earlier. We've always, you know, we've just sort of gone with it and just reflected, and sometimes just taken a few pauses and gone, you know, we've done reader surveys every year since we started, and I'm surprised still how I imagined sometimes, or certainly on a number of occasions, our audience was pretty much 100,000 people like me, for 40-year-old blokes who grew up watching football on crumbling terraces and hark back to that rose-tinted idea that we mentioned. But I've been really impressed. I've been really surprised at times, but also really proud of the fact that a lot of our, I think 30 at one stage, 30% of our readership was under 21, or something, you know.
Wow.
Things like, so we're like, wow, you know. Again, not catering for every single person who follows football under 21, but we've got a core group who obviously see Mundial, or they believe Mundial was a sort of entry into that sort of that whole, you know, that maybe not, you know, nostalgia, that all the things that we spoke about before, but we haven't been that targeted, you know. And again, that might be something that, from a business perspective and a brand perspective, might not have been the best thing, but again, we just have to be true to ourselves and true to what we want to do, and hope, you know, fortunately, or maybe, you know, we've been doing it 6 years now, so it's probably not too much luck, but yeah, people have been on board with us through that, and keep continuing to come on board with us. So that, you know, and that's great. And like I said, we're not for everyone, and nor do we, you know.
No, but, you know, I think I don't want to keep banging on about it. We haven't got a bet on to say how many times core value comes up in this pod, but it's but also I feel like it's the number one rule for any upstarting business, particularly if you're in social media at the moment, where you're trying to reach out to people. If you are being real and staying true to what you believe in and patient, then sky can be the limit. I just feel that maybe what happens is you can start up and you can easily get swayed by, or what do we want to look like? Do we want to look like that or that? And then you sort of go off the wrong path. And so I feel like rule number one really is, isn't it? It's that staying true to what you started off as, really, and then and naturally growing organically instead of trying to rush things, you know.
Exactly. And it's like I said, there's not been any. Of course, we've had to, as we've grown and got bigger and taken people on and done more things that involve, you know, a better structure and a bigger amount of resource. And we've obviously had to make, you know, we've had to do the business side of things. And but all four of us didn't necessarily come into this because we were four business people that were looking to do something in football. We were football fans looking to put it bluntly, try and create, or, you know, certainly after what was supposed to be a one-off issue, was just to create create a good working environment and create maybe jobs for all of us and doing something that we love doing. You know, I was very lucky. I was a TV producer and I probably still am. You know, that's what. But I did that for 7-8 years and interviewed footballers, cricketers, and I absolutely loved it. I wasn't looking to get another job or start my own business or anything like that. None of us really were. But it just again, a bit of fortune, but also a bit of belief. Then these things happen, and we go to, you know, I'm very fortunate. Again, it's something I always point back to. I work with my mates. I mean, I'm very lucky in that respect, and no more so.
It's barely work then, I'm sure.
Well,
times.
Yes, my wife would not agree with that, and rightly so. And you know, it means a lot of late nights, and it means you care about it a lot. Of course, and you know. But
I'd say that as Seb is obviously on a call and a meeting with ourselves in the evening, you know, while wives and families are in other rooms locked away.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's been a tough year, obviously, for everyone. But how's that had an effect on Monday Out? And I guess what's next? So what's the developments you've had over the year, and kind of what can we look forward to from Monday Out in the coming months? And
well, I don't think we should obviously, the elephant in the room is that we have had to put the pause on our print edition. Now, that's largely because the last issue that we did, issue 21, which I'm still amazed that we've got this far. I'm glad we have, but of course, there's still, if you said to me 6 years ago we'd got to 21 issues, I would have laughed probably. But we brought that out 3 days before lockdown. So we had thousands of copies of magazines on shelves and shops that weren't open. So it was difficult, and we'd obviously invested quite a lot of time and money into this issue because it was very much how we see football in the coming year, 5 years, 10 years. You know, it very much harks back to what magazines like Wired and stuff like that, who have done similar things, and The Economist have obviously done stuff like that. So we thought, let's do a football version of that. Little did we know there was a global pandemic around the corner. That absolutely, you know, one of the lines that we have in the magazine is, what's going to happen this year is football is not going to stop. There's so much football because of the Euros, the African Cup of Nations, all this. Yeah. We want to know that was obviously to be proved.
Well, no one was, were they?
Correct. No, of course. But so we just made a decision, and again, obviously that was a business decision as much as anything, that we have to put a pause on that, and we've been looking at sorting out a digital version of Mundial, which can do a similar thing, but obviously needs to be different, and obviously, again, retain that core value, but also not just be a straight replica of what the magazine is in PDF format. No one wants that. No, it's no fun for anyone. So so that's been paused, but just before, we'd already agreed to have we'd already been commissioned for a second series of Giant, which is a podcast series exclusively with Spotify, and extremely. I've done a lot of things in my time. I'm fortunate to do so, and the first series was probably the thing I'm most proud of. We had always been asked and suggested that you should do a podcast, and we thought, well, what's the point in having, you know, competing with the likes of Football Weekly and stuff like that? So we wanted to do things differently. If we were to do a podcast, an audio version, as you know, I'd previously made sports documentaries, and telling stories is obviously something that we do well in the mag. We wanted to do that in an audio format, and fortunately, one way or another, Spotify came to us, and we managed to agree to do a 6-part documentary series that we did last year, and again, being proud of it, we won the prestigious New York Festivals Radio Awards, Gold and Silver Awards, alongside like ESPN and BBC and stuff like that, which was obviously incredible for us. And we were obviously immensely proud of it anyway, but to get that recognition in that field. So, and as a result of that, I'm sure that played a role in the fact that we got a second series. So it's slightly changed this time. They were 45 minutes long, 45 to an hour long. These ones are only around 20 minutes, slightly shorter, and coming out every week. Obviously, we started production of that about 2 weeks before lockdown. So one of the things, the key ingredients of the first series was we went out to places. We went to America. We were very, again, fortunate to do so, and all around Europe to get these interviews. Obviously, when lockdown came along, it was a lot of Zoom. It became Zoom and clean feeds, and it's been a big challenge to try and recreate what we did so well in the first series in that environment. Again, we've all had to adapt like everyone else, but incredibly proud of what we've done so far. We've done a night, again, it's very democratic. There's a nice variety to it. I say that we've got the last week, and this episode of Pele came out, and this week's Maradona, so we've gone for the hits, but that is mainly because they're birthdays, of course. But yeah, I'm again really proud of what we're doing there, and 20 minutes is a really interesting format. And again, as a documentary maker who's made longer form things, 20 minutes and telling a story and up and down is difficult, no doubt about it. But enjoy the challenge, and hopefully the episodes speak for themselves. And if you haven't listened to Giant, then please do. I genuinely believe it offers something slightly different to what is out there.
It absolutely does.
I mean, you mentioned earlier about obviously being more than just a magazine, Seb, but I also feel look at the work and think that, you know, Mundial are potentially sort of redefining what a magazine is really, you know, because we look at Shoot and Match and 442, and it was bundled, wasn't it, with all different types of things. It would be like a cartoon bit at the end, and some interviews, and maybe what's happening is with the digital world that we live in now is that these magazines, newspapers, whatever, just are being sort of redefined, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that we set the standard by any stretch, because we obviously had Green Soccer Journal, for example, was one of the magazines I read, you know, a couple of years before, you know, and I'd be a liar to say if it wasn't at least a spark that in my head, or maybe we could do something like this. And you know, there have been magazines that have come out since, and around that time, and I think even 442 have gone down you know, I've been a subscriber since the very start. 442 have gone down a slightly different angle, you know, without more in-depth features, more visuals and things like that. And it's great, because at the end of the day, there's so much football. There's enough for all to go around for all of us, you know. Like I said, I'm a subscriber of 442 and have been, and I'll read it pretty much most football magazines. And you've also got magazines like Season and things like that focus on women's football. And yeah, it's great. And we've had people come to us that have said, "Oh, this inspired us to do that," and that's as good as most things, as anything really. You know, I was a fanzine. I all started writing a fanzine for Yeovil. Oh God, I can't remember how long ago it was now, but the fact that I had fanzines that influenced me to do that, and then the fact that some people come back and say, "Oh, Mundial influenced me to start this," or even just do this project at university or whatever, or design project. That's brilliant. You know, I really like that, and that's why I'd love to try and keep the print magazine going as much as we can, and we are trying to do that. But sometimes circumstances outside your control can affect that. But it's certainly still on our radar, and it's definitely something we've not given up on. Like I said, we press pause. We really hope we can press play again soon. So yeah, and if people enjoy that, then that's great. And it'll be something that we want to get back to doing. But it's as anyone who has done anything in print in the digital age, it's not cheap, and you have to have real passion for it. And it's hard to take something so traditional and print and sell it, you know, in shops and the like and things like that, when everything is being bought online, you know. And the print costs and postage costs are excessive, you know. That's why obviously we had to press pause. So unfortunately, sometimes circumstances outside your control can stop that.
Yeah.
It's been, as you said, a challenging year for that reason. And as you said, we hope you can press play again, whether that becomes the quarterly edition or another iteration of an evolution of that pressurized environment. We're going to ramp that pressure / not really ramp that pressure, but we're going to throw a small little quickfire challenge at you, a counter-attack challenge. And we've got a few questions which you can hopefully answer in 1 or 2 words, short, sharp. And as I say, put you on the spot somewhat.
Anyone that's listened to this podcast so far is going to find it's hard to know that I can say things in 1 or 2 words, but I'll definitely give it a go.
Andrew, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, first one. We've got favourite podcast, in brackets, not Giant, though.
Absolutely. That's fair enough. Popular Front by a guy called Jake Hanrahan, which is, I think the tagline is all the niche niche details of modern warfare, but it's so much more than that, and it's absolutely it's my go-to listen. But I have to say, sorry, I know it's supposed to be one or two words. Social distance sports bar. It's kept me sane during the lockdown. So yeah, sorry, that's nice. Two. I have to say two.
Nice. Well, you didn't have the third, which was ours, which was but it's fine. Hampton and Richmond to come flying through the divisions and win the Premier League, or England to win the World Cup.
Yeah. Definitely Hampton and Richmond, and don't get me wrong, I've been to World Cups and I've followed England, but yeah, it's all
Good man.
Club over country every day of the week for me.
Well, this one wasn't planned. I'm going to throw it in now. A bit of nostalgia. Pele or Maradona?
I've seen Maradona when I was 7 years old play for Napoli, but in a training session in Naples because my family's in Naples, so I have to say Maradona.
So the modern iteration of that debate, Messi or Ronaldo?
Both. I'm not bothered either way.
You can't sit on the fence on HTO.
I've got to sit on the fence there. I enjoy watching both of them. Honestly, I can't. People have asked me that before, and I just think. And again, this might sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but let's just enjoy the fact we got both of them.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, you should still pick one, but that's very true. It's true. Andrew.
So we've got favourite football film / documentary ever.
Oh God, blimey. And I've been fortunate enough to know quite a few people that have made some really good ones as well, so they're going to have a go at me if I don't mention them. But I'm just going to go, first one that's coming into my head is Two Escobars, ESPN 30 incredible. I don't think anyone will tell that story any better than that. So obviously there's a lot of stories in football that have been told and retold, but no one will tell the Two Escobars story any better than that, no question.
Yeah, we had the creator of the Two Escobars as a guest on our show, and it was a pleasure. We love the show, but he was fantastic as well, and it was just brilliant to sort of understand where it came from and the process he had to go through to create. It was fantastic. Yeah. Sorry, I've kind of disrupted the counter attack by just
but that's also why it's so good, because how the hell do you make that? Essentially,
and then the same team went on to create something around Chape, obviously the disaster there, and you can see and understand, again, the same place they're coming from. But the final classic question we ask is what, Andrew?
So we've got a couple of more, I think, haven't we? Football stadium. So football
two. You're right. You're absolutely right.
One football stadium you'd love to go to that you've not been to before.
Well, one I've not been to before. That's a good one. Because I'm an anorak and I count how many stadiums I've been to. I think it's up to 167. Nice. Oh God, that's a good one, that. Blimey. Come on, think. Oh, I haven't been to the Bombonera.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, it'll have to be that, to be honest. Yeah. It would have to be.
I was just about to say that one.
And finally, 3 dinner guests, dead or alive, from the world of football, that you could have coming around this evening for a takeaway.
Dead, and I would have to say Alex Stock, Yeovil manager from their greatest moment in their history in 1948, and who I was brought up when I was a kid, but also the inspiration for, I think, Paul Whitehouse's character on the Fast Show, which might have been a little bit unfair, but yeah, I think he'd be good fun at that party. I think you'd have to say Eric Cantona, just for the entertainment value, and then. Do you know what? I'm going to be really cheesy and topical, but Marcus Rashford, for everything that he's been doing in football, and I think shining a light on such great stuff, and just really setting an example for so many people.
Yeah, fantastic.
I would say Marcus Rashford, and yeah.
Has he got the job of carrying Cantona home? Has he?
Yeah, yeah. I imagine he might. Yeah, I think so. But.
Sensible.
Yeah, it would be good fun, that, wouldn't it? Yeah, but Cantona, Cantona is probably he's going to keep you entertained, and Marcus for the hope, and Cantona nostalgia, Marcus Rashford for the future, because not only is he obviously an incredible human being, he's obviously a great player and a joy to watch. So
yeah, fantastic. So we've got to talk to you about your other passion, Hampton and Richmond.
Yeah,
Seb. So. You're spinning plates a little bit, aren't you? You're over there as well doing your media directing.
Spinning plates, yeah. My wife might have a different term for it, but yeah. Look, I mean, I can't help myself with having a side project, whether that was Mundial was a side project at one point, and I got that, and then I decided, I'll have another one. But I went to watch Hampton and Richmond. I lived in Leafy, West London, and I went to go and tick it off of the list, and the ground just because of that. Hampton and Richmond got stuffed 4-0. Didn't play very well, but I've been going ever since, just because it's a great place. The people are incredibly friendly. The stadium's great. It's an old traditional non-league stadium surrounded by trees. And last night they played, and again, just reminded you. And again, I'm fortunate as in my role as media director that I'm able to go and watch them, because they're in the last level of so-called elite football. And just, the floodlights are on, the trees are lining the stadium. It's not, honestly, I just love it. And again, talking about rose-tinted spectacles and nostalgia, it just takes me back to non-league football, which I grew up when I was a Yeovil Town fan. Non-league football was my way into the game. So it just takes me back, and I can have a pint with the players afterwards and things like that. Just it sounds cliche, but it's true. But and I've always been hugely into supporters trust and fan ownership. So I joined the supporters trust, ended up getting on the board of that, and then it was a natural progression really, because they needed some help. And I didn't probably, if you did Tom, I thought, I'll just do it for a bit and it'd be some nice stuff on the sides and I'll enjoy my Saturdays. But it's a huge amount of work, but I've got absolutely no regrets whatsoever, because it means I speak to people that are completely different to me and completely older. They're totally different perspectives on stuff on life, but that's the beauty of football. It brings those people together. And you know what? We all have one common cause every Saturday at 3:00, or during the week when we're volunteering to paint this or do this, or which you have to do in non-league football. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think as well.
It reminds me. And this is going to sound cliche, but Hampton and Richmond Borough reminded me why I love football. So I think I fell out of love with it for a bit, and they have done. And and that ties into what we're doing at the moment, really. I'm trying to make people aware of, don't get me wrong, I use the vehicle of Mundial sometimes to maybe push Hampton and Richmond further to the fore than the sixth tier of English football club maybe. But I think Hampton and Richmond is a great example of many, many non-league clubs. And that's hopefully, if there's one thing that's going to come from this, what's happened in recent months, people going to non-league football and for their football fix, because they can't go above that, then I hope that people carry on doing that, because I think people have realised that it's a great place to be.
100%. I'm a follower of a National League side myself in the fourth tier, and I just think at the moment of being a non-league fan, if you wake up in the morning and your club's still alive, then you got to count your blessings really. Exactly. We spoke to Lee Birch on the pod before, the London Bees manager, and he was just saying the same really, that what you alluded to a minute ago, that maybe this situation will sort of bring to life a new sort of set of fans really, that go and support their local team and keep it going. Because as Mundial puts it, why we love football is because of those first moments where you stand in the park and watch a match, or it's powerful.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of the things that we're doing at the moment. We're offering, excuse the plug, but we are not charging for a stream. We're running our own service. It's totally free, and anyone can watch it. So we had over 500 people watching it last night, and I imagine if we charged for it, then you'd have the diehards, and we might have had 10% of that number.
You mean you're not charging $14.95 on top of a Sky bill?
A nice, yeah, exactly. We're not. And look, you're not getting, I understand as well, it's sixth tier of English football. The football is fortunately, it's been really good, the last few games. But I just want people to realise that what goes on at that level, and also the people that actually help make that happen at that level, need to be have their light shine on them as well. Because the amount of work that the volunteers, we had a food bank on throughout the whole of lockdown, and the amount of work that went in was fantastic, and the difference it made, albeit very locally. People might go, Hampton and Richmond, I don't think they need a food bank. Well, obviously we all know that those problems affect anyone and everyone wherever you are. So it was brilliant to do, and actually it gave people contact while they couldn't have football matches with the football club, or with the people from the football club that they knew, you say hello to. You know, there's only 500, 600 people going every game normally, so you get to know people and people get to know you. So
exactly,
it was great. And yeah, I would, if anyone is listening to this and hasn't been to a non-league game during lockdown, just pick a team there, not too far away, and go along. And because I tell you, for whatever, even if you only go once, your money and the money you spend that day on a pint or burger program makes just a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously we're closing in on Christmas, so we've got a couple of wishes at HTO that Mundial keep moving forward and Hampton Richmond knock out Oldham in the FA Cup, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I hope so too. Yeah, Hampton Richmond. I obviously have my history of Hampton Richmond. I've been there the last 5 years, but in their 99-year history, they've only been in the FA Cup first round 4 times, and 2 of those times they've drawn Oldham Athletic at home. So I don't know what the odds are on that, but it's ridiculous. But obviously, the last time it was incredible. A full house at the Beverley, 3,000 people jammed in. It's not going to be the case this time, but these are the things that are going to happen. But maybe we'll go one better this time. But it's obviously going to be very tough.
That'll be the next round.
I was going to say see you at Wembley, but probably won't be allowed in. But
well, this is the sad thing, isn't it? And I just hope, if talking about wishes, I just hope that football can return sooner rather than later. I understand more than most the logistics involved of that happening, because everything, you have to be so safe with everything, and non-league grounds are conducive.
But until then, they can listen and read Mundial. We encourage everyone to do so. And Seb, we just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and joining us. I personally, and I think Andrew has as well, found it really just an enjoyable chat. Coming from a lot of the same thought processes and a lot of the same ethos that we have at HTO Football, and it's just really nice to see and continue to do such fantastic work, because we're big fans ourselves personally. So appreciate it.
That's great. That's great to hear, and yeah, I really appreciate that. And thanks very much.